Yeah, I do want to talk about a few things tonight. So, a while back, I did a few videos. Well, it was on a live stream. I meant to make it into a video, but I haven't yet. But I just thought I'd go ahead and, remake it anyway. Um, so, I fully expected that the Jehovah's Witnesses would win. I said this on live stream. When other information was coming out about the Norway stuff, when they had lost their government funding for being a religion, quote unquote. So they won. I figured that they would, mainly because they changed a little bit of their stuff. But it's like, at the same time, if they changed what actually really affected a person in a positive way, I would see it differently. I still don't see them as anything else than a predatory organization that seeks to suck a person dry of their money and their time while giving that person basically nothing and making them feel guilty for being themselves to control them even more. Because it's not enough that they want your time and your money, they also want they want what makes you you, and they want to also control every thought that a person has. That just screams predatory. There's also like I said, there were a lot of other things wrong that were not presented in the Norway case, but I still think of Norway as as kind of like a spotlight here, because Norway did it in a way where they couldn't complain that they were being persecuted and that they couldn't practice their religion. They were still able to do that. They just didn't have their funding because of violating human rights. And I don't feel like that was the only thing that had them violating human rights. There are so many other things that they do, like human trafficking for free labor, so they can turn around maybe, a decade or so later and resell or sell the property that they had built off of free labor. Get money out of it as if they had paid for labor, right? Because most of the time, when you think of someone doing something for free, like it is a fucking half-assed job that is just, there's no real quality put into it. Because it's free, and you would think that would be the case, but it's like, I just don't understand how. I mean, I know that there are mistakes and things like that, but I mean, come on. it's so much wrong that they do uh, for what the people do for them and what little they get back for it. It's really disgusting. I've been a victim of it and not known it. I didn't realize what was going on at the time, and uh, like one of the worst things I feel like that happened to me, in with regards to doing any type of work is growing up in the Jehovah's Witnesses. You are taught that you know uh, you can learn all these skills and you can do all these things, and you don't have to go to college and pay whatever, which is not really college. You just kind of go to like a trade school. Trade schools are still fairly reasonable, I feel like. um but yeah, you're always pulled into the path, especially when you're born into it, that uh you have to strive for these things. And what you're basically taught to do is, because you're pulled into human trafficking as a child. I mean, I was forced to clean assembly halls when I was a child. uh and many other people that I grew up with were also. That's human trafficking. They are getting free labor off of children for involving children, at least when I was a child. I don't think that they do it anymore, but I mean, uh, it's like, what is the point of saying that you're the best when you're doing illegal things? You say that people are to submit to the authorities uh, that govern them, but you violate these authorities in most of your actions. Um, because I mean, for most of my life, or basically all of my childhood and teenage years, every year, twice a year, to the Salisbury Assembly Hall, and one time a year to the Lawrence Jewel Memorial, or Lawrence Jewel Veteran Memorial Coliseum, whatever, uh, to clean after the the assembly ends. So you're uh taken to a place that I didn't want to be in, forced to do work that I didn't want to have to do, and uh people, parents, family condition that if your child didn't want to do this, then you are to correct them, to guide them in the right path. It's just abuse. It's human trafficking, and it's abuse, and it's taught to be normal. It's disgusting. It is truly disgusting. Um, and then there is uh, the entire thing with the blood. I think that the governing body members are now murderers. They should be tried for murder. Because, uh, I'm not saying that storing your blood in bags is bad. That's a good thing. I'm saying that for a century, uh, or almost a century, people were pressured to, are told that if they were in a life threatening situation and they stored their blood or took their blood, because if once blood exited the body, it was now defiled, because it's been out of your body and it shouldn't be back in. That's because blood is supposed to be sacred. Okay? And blood is a sacred thing. Human lives have meaning, have value, and the gift of life is sacred. That's something that I do believe. But it's like, so for 100 years, or about 100 years, you sat there and said that these people had to die when they really didn't. So you murdered them. Those people made those decisions off of the knowledge that you provided them, and you told them that if they took blood, they would no longer be valuable to God, and would no longer be acceptable in God's presence. So you then, because this person was in a life-threatening situation and they wanted to take blood, if they took blood, they would be basically told that they are no longer part of God's flock, that they may not have any type of activities, relations, conversations with their family members. So you shun them, and then on top of that, this person who has now been in a bad situation where they needed blood, or they would have died, they chose life. Life is supposed to be a sacred thing, and I've read the Bible. I mean, there are plenty of places in the Bible where it's like, choose to live, do not choose death. Well, these people chose to live, and they were humiliated, they were shunned, and they were left in a horrible situation alone because of the shunning. And the people that didn't take the blood died. So it's either we're gonna kick you in the fucking face repeatedly because you had a horrible accident and chose to live, or we're just gonna kill you. Because that's just how it is. Or, sorry, we're gonna make you kill yourself. Because they force these people to adhere to this nonsense that choosing life is a fucking horrible thing, and they should be ashamed for even considering the fact. I've seen countless fucking videos growing up, and because there's always the blood video. I watched the blood video on VHS. Okay, it's the same all throughout their content on blood. It's the same thing. The biggest thing that I remember growing up and hearing about is when they started allowing people to put their blood through the machine during surgeries, so it would still be circulating with the in the machine, and could later go back into the body. But because it was always moving, that was okay, because it wasn't still. So that was one thing that they changed. But still, no, you cannot store your blood because it's still. And still blood is dead blood. Or, that's basically how they looked at it, because they looked at it as you are defiling yourself for doing it, and you are defiling yourself if you took someone else's blood so you could live. They bullied people, they humiliated people, and they murdered people. The governing body members are murderers to me. And I feel like that they should just have, stand trial for it. And then there's the final thing of, like, there's still all these issues that are going on, and it's like, oh, well, we can just go and back and say, well, no one should watch information from here because that's old, and we have all this new light over here. Yeah, well, all of that old information was used to kill people with. So, how can you sit there and drop it and then say that you care about human lives? You don't care about human lives. You care about getting free labor off of people, molesting children so they stay inside of your cult, and also, making sure that uh, their lives are completely just thrown to the side. It doesn't matter what they want. They should do whatever Watchtower tells them. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. There's still so many issues, and there's still the issue of the pedophilia that is rampant in their organization, and nothing is done about it, and they still appear to destroying information, making sure information does not go out, making sure that information that could be used to help the victim doesn't get out. The victim has to do everything themselves. Like, a crime has been committed, and they still do not go to the police about it. Oh, well, that's the victim's decision. Why don't you help the victim? You don't help the victim. You make the victim relive horrible things and do absolutely nothing to help them. And in the past, and I'm sure it still happens today, humiliated the victim and had the victim shunned if they did choose to seek the authorities to have justice for themselves. It is fucking disgusting. It's a disgusting thing. It really is. I've watched a few videos here and there about, like, what their new thing is, and something that I heard, I haven't checked it though, I haven't checked it out yet, but something that I heard was, after they dropped the blood video online, which did not have an announcement beforehand, they just dropped it online. They proceeded to go back into the past decade and they started deleting their videos. This is something akin to what I've heard, and I mean, it just makes sense that they would do that, because they're trying to cover their tracks, but they're just making themselves look really fucking bad. And for an organization that stood firm on, for most of my life, God doesn't change. There's nothing that would ever make God change his rules. I mean, being told, no, you cannot do something that could save your life, you could not take any, like, preventive action to save your life if you had a horrible accident, because God didn't want you to being told that, oh yeah, God says that that's okay now. You're full of shit. You're so full of shit. And also being absolutely uh, having people grow up with the mentality that, I mean, I had to be constantly around it, that that if you were transsexual or you were homosexual, you had no hope whatsoever because you weren't living your life the right way. There is so much abuse going on. It's still happening and it's so disgusting, and people really do not realize how homophobic and transphobic the organization is, and how much abuse that these people that grow up in that place have to take, because if you're, or also bisexual, because I'm bisexual, um there's nothing that you can really do to get out of it, unless you just drop it, unless you just either you choose not to be who you really are, or you're just done with it, and you have like no contact with them, and that again ends up with people losing their families and being shunned out of their families, and their families ostracizing them because they have to, you know, if you're bisexual, if you're homosexual, if you're straight, if you're transsexual, I feel like there's enough evidence out there to say that that is how you are. You can't you can't change that. And if that changes, normally it happens on its own. Like trying to change that, so many people have just lived in like just so much self-hate trying to change that about them, and that's what the organization seems to just feed off of, is making a like demeaning a person as much as they possibly can, uh because they say that they can. um the abuse is just gross. It's so fucking gross. uh i'm I'm just wondering if there's not gonna be uh another like, I mean, it's their organization, it's their rules. You can completely have a all gay organization or an all straight organization or whatever, but that doesn't mean that the people that end up being born into it, that are not straight, have to be abused and mocked and demeaned, uh, because that's how they are. Uh, it's it's something that causes a lot of harm. I'm I had something else, but I kind of like forgot about it. Like slipped my mind while I was talking. Uh, I'm thinking that there may be other countries that might try and follow what Norway does, hopefully, or sorry, has done, because it's like, okay, right? It's like, so they basically, now I feel like we're at a stage, right? XJWs and JWs are at a stage where it's clearly evident that the organization is wrong for what they have done to people, violating their human rights, getting free work out of them, sexually molesting children so they'll stay in the organization, which is disgusting, uh, and murder. And it seems like that they also now recognize it too, or like are admitting it as discreetly as they possibly can, because they changed the term disfellowshipping to, I don't know, removed, and said that people can come up and say hello to them. So if that's the case, then, you know, how many, like, are, I'm just wondering how many other countries are gonna start looking into them and getting them to try to get them to change more, because it's obvious that once you take their money away, that's the only thing that they really care about. Uh, so I kind of expect to see more of this. I just hope, though, I hope that it's done in a way, right? Because even though the Organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower Bible Tract Society of Jehovah's Witnesses, does a lot of illegal things to people and a lot of abuse to people, I don't feel like that this will work out well if other countries forbid them from practicing their religion, such as going to church and preaching and such. So I hope that it doesn't turn out that way, um, because then they can sit there and cry, "Oh, we're being persecuted. Oh, this is attacks from Satan's world," and try and like go like, I don't know, hyper containment on people, and people start getting scared, and then I just feel like all of that fear creates more ground for bad things to happen to people in the future. Instead, I think if it's handled more like how Norway handled it, where they were still allowed to, practice, but they were losing their money. I just hope that they lose their money in these cases, because uh, at least then, if they are losing their money, they can see that maybe they do abuse people, and they can actually start treating people better. Um, and that's just, I care nothing for ever stepping foot in an Assembly Hall, convention, or Kingdom Hall. Uh, Even the Kingdom Hall parking lot. I don't ever want to step foot anywhere near one again. But there's still people there. I know that there's people in there that are suffering and going through the same things that the same hell I was forced to go through and uh, grow up with. And it's just doing nothing but creating a whole lot of damage. A whole lot of damage and a whole lot of therapy that Watchtower is not going to pay for. And, you know, that's that's just not fair. Uh, it's not fair. It's a real like abuse on life, and I I hope the best. Uh, I hope the best for the people that want to practice it, because, like I said, I don't feel like I'm not attacking anything about people going to a church and you know uh, practicing their religion, socializing together. Uh, it's just how good is it that there are like almost, what is it, like 8 million people in there. I'm not even sure. I'm sure it's sure that they've lost a lot of people with all the backtracking, trying to cover their ass. I'm sure that their numbers are dropping. But still, there's still people in there that they have no clue, or their children, and they're just forced to be where their family is, and they're, it's a real like dangerous environment because there's no check for pedophiles, and pedophiles are protected, and there's no real way that victims get justice unless, or in the past, unless they are incredibly strong. And it's still damaging, and it's really a shame that you have to go through so much damage from a place that says that it's love. It's always what they say. Jehovah's Witnesses are always about love. And I mean, some of the people are genuinely good people. It just sucks that the leadership there approves of protecting predators and not victims, and instead of searching for a way for children to grow up best, because I've heard it so many times in talks, especially in like wedding talks or whatever. It takes a village to raise a child, and it's like, yeah, and the village is full of predators. So how well that child's going to be in as an adult, who the hell knows? And it's really, really scary that it's just acceptable from leadership perspective that, oh, that's fine. That's fine. Confidentiality, we don't have to say anything. Not because we want to protect the child, but because we don't want to look bad. So the child's safety never really mattered anyway. And also, we can just probably blackmail this guy with this information and make him do whatever for us, right? So I'm sure that there's a lot of that going on. That doesn't help safety. That doesn't help getting predators away from children. And that doesn't help make it a safer place for a family to be in. And I really do feel like that this is like one of the biggest like false advertisement things about it, because uh, religion advertises itself. Like, what is the preaching work? A huge fucking advertisement for the religion. And if you say, oh, but the preaching work is volunteered, and it's not, like, yeah, it's volunteered, but like so many people go out and spend so much money on gas, especially expensive as gas is right now. And I'm sure that they're still, pressuring people and trying to guilt trip them, oh, Jehovah will provide for you, just don't worry about it, just come out and service. Like, even though it's a fucking advertisement, right, for how uh how to find a loving and protective organization, really do feel like the society should be sued on that ground alone, uh, for false advertisement, because it's not a safe place for families to be. It's not a safe place for children to grow up in, and safety is not the first priority. Protecting Jehovah's name, or quote unquote Jehovah's name, is top priority there. Not your safety, not your family. protecting the organization's name is it. I want to just fucking scream sometimes when I think about that, because there's a lot of ways that they play on fear to to have, I mean, it's really not uncommon for churches to go and look for families, because church is kind of a family thing. But at the same time, if you're focusing your whole thing on this is a safe place to be, and you're hiding the fact that predators are there and they exist and are, they're treated like they're just any old regular person, it's a scary it's a scary thing. Especially when there has been a practice. I'm not sure if they do this anymore, but there's been a practice of everyone being divided into different car groups, and that includes splitting children from their parents to go out with other people, and no one knows who anyone is, because someone there is a predator. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to say anything about it. They're going to do everything that they can to hide it. And they're in an environment where children are there. I'm thinking more so though, in like congregations other than English. Because in most English congregations I've been to, it's just been like a bunch of old people, and there might be like one or two families there with like children. But still, uh, when the person that's done it is not gonna say anything, but when the leadership also doesn't say anything, and the leadership doesn't watch, and the leadership partakes also in pedophilia and being predator to children while dressed up as a leading leadership, because they're what did they say, that all the elders have been seen by Christ or something like that. So you have this leadership that is put up there as being, someone that's been chosen by Christ or something like that to lead his flock, and then he's just over there touching kids the whole time. You have a huge fucking problem in identifying who your leadership should be. You have a huge fucking problem, and you don't do anything to fix it. And even when these people are caught, they're later, so like these people are caught for it, they may be removed, past tense, disfellowshipped from the congregation, but they'll come back to the congregation, and then they get back in leadership roles again. They give that role back to them. I mean, even if it is like years later, still, they give that role back to them so they can do it all over again. Like, how the fuck do you say that you have the best leadership ever, and you have, because Jehovah watches over his flock, and there's no reason to ever question the elders. You have a fucking leadership role for protecting predators, but also making sure that they can get back into those positions and abuse kids again. What the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? I'm just I'm really interested in watching watching some of a few other content creators' reactions to how they're panicking, because I do hear that they're panicking right now, and it's like, you know, if this was, I don't know, I just feel like I really do feel like it's a thing of, if this was really a true place that, God, or a God, uh resided, that uh there would not be as much panicking, because there would have just been uh truthful from the get-go, I guess. But that's something that I've always never liked about Christianity, is that Christianity tries to put up this guise in front of you that what you clearly see is going on is not what's actually happening, because only God really knows. That's something that I've heard a lot. Not from just Jehovah's Witnesses, but also other Christians, that, only God really knows. You shouldn't judge others uh, because they make a mistake. Like, bull fucking shit. And that is really something that I have never liked about Christianity, is that you are taught to not put faith in yourself, not put faith in your reasoning skills, in what you see right in front of you. Instead, you're taught to ignore that and do whatever your leader says. I think it's a huge robbery of the human mind, because if you see it right in front of you, that's what it fucking is. I've never liked the encouragement of self doubt, and I've never liked that, even in things with for instance, uh, being taught. I know is going to be something that's kind of like um, unpopular, but basically being taught that you shouldn't talk to like spirits, because they may overpower you and shit like that. I've never believed in that. I've never believed that a spirit could overpower unless you allowed it to. And I've always believed in like the type of energy that I feel uh, around certain spirits, deities, people. Um, that is what they truly are. What you feel. If you feel that something is off about a person, or a spirit that you may be talking to, because I believe in that. Um, you know, I just say go with your fucking feeling. Like, it's not gonna hurt to go with your feeling, to go with your gut, because you have your you have a warning system, even if the warning system is not well developed, because maybe you were taught to doubt yourself a lot in life, and taught that you're not strong enough without Jesus or whatever. That's something else that I don't like about Christianity. Uh, I have never ever felt worse than when I was taught, or I was put into situations where if I didn't act this way, then people would outcast me because I wanted to do something else. Um, and I mean, I did do what I wanted, but it still felt really bad knowing that because you are this way, people will outcast you. But you also grew up here and you didn't have any other choice but to go, or you would be beat. Like, I would be beaten, cursed at, slapped as a child because I didn't want to go to and guilt tripped because I didn't want to go to the Kingdom Hall, or didn't want to go um, to the assembly. And I mean, yeah, like kids go through things where they just don't want to go somewhere at times. I feel like everybody does, but sometimes a kid's not gonna just get up and do it even if they don't want to do it. But still, physical, verbal, and emotional abuse to convince a child that they should go worship God is horrible. And then also being taught that if you don't if you don't do what they're telling you to do, uh and not doubt yourself, then uh you have a bigger uh you have a bigger like ego than like everyone else, and it's a sign that you are a like unstable person, and you are like haughty or whatever because you won't trust in your leaders, but you trust in yourself, and they also say that you're selfish for it, whatever else. Like, I felt so much better when I just said fuck all that and I just dropped it. I felt so much better. Um, Mainly because I just really don't know. There's nothing like having like seeing something for what it is and just going with that feeling. Uh, and at the end of the day, yeah, I was like, what if I'm wrong about this? Because I did have those thoughts, but it was still a good feeling to go with because I wasn't wrong about it. I fucking wasn't wrong about it. It's true. Uh, they teach you self doubt to cripple you, and so you cannot. You need them to survive. But if you don't doubt yourself, you don't really need them. Um, and trying to just go with that after being taught for so long that what's in front of you is not actually like how things are, and you shouldn't go off that. You should trust your elders. You should pray to God. You should pray to God about it, and all this other stuff. Like, it's fucking right there. It's fucking right there. Who in the fuck does all of those steps when it's fucking right there in front of you? Uh, I really do think it's just taught to just cripple people and uh, try just to, add a extra layer of manipulation. And so, they can get your time, your money, and also your thoughts. Uh, yeah, that's all I want to talk about.